Okay, so somehow this stopped recording mid-thing, so I'm just going to start all over again. Um, Theresa Knorr is what this is going to be about. She was a horrific serial killer. Um, I guess it would be considered serial killer. Y'all can let me know in the comments whether y'all think this would be classified as that or something else. But she's proof that women can be abusive a-holes. I'm trying to keep it nice for YouTube. But she was born in Sacramento, California, March 14th, 1946. I think that makes her Pisces, not that it matters. She would be, she is age 76 now. She's the youngest of two girls. Her dad was diagnosed when she was real young with Parkinson's disease, which forced him to quit his job. He developed depression, and took his frustrations and anger out on his family. So there have and the mom, Swanee Gay, who became Swanee Cross when she married. Swanee Gay Myers became Swanee Cross, and she kept the family afloat financially. And the mom died when she was like, when Theresa was maybe 15. And then her dad sold the family home. I'm only going to talk about the first marriage because the other marriages don't really matter. And you'll see why in a minute. It's the only one that she got away with murder, in my opinion, on. She was found not guilty, but I think the jury came to their own conclusion. On September 29th, 1962, Theresa met Clifford Clyde Sanders. He was a few years older than her. They met a few months prior, before they got married. They married on September 29th, 1962. She immediately dropped out of high school and became pregnant. Gave birth to her first child, Howard Clyde Sanders, in July of 1963. The marriage was rocky. Theresa was very possessive. It's been told by other people, including her own sister, and she repeatedly accused Sanders of infidelity. A lot of people have said that he was really good. She accused him of a lot of things, including touching her in the face. Her own sister said that this was not true, that she was the possessive and jealous one, and several people talked about how she had said to them that she would kill Sanders before any other woman would have him. So, she was acquitted of the Sanders murder on September 22nd, 1964. She gave birth to her second child, Sheila Gay Sanders, on March 16th, 1965. And this is where it really starts getting dark. And the way that she killed her husband, I don't think I mentioned, was she shot him in the back while he was walking away, because he said he was leaving her. To me, that's not self-defense, but there we are. After Sheila's birth, Theresa began drinking heavily. And I'm just going to get to the nitty-gritty of it. Um, she married quite a few times. They were supposedly always the problem. If you're married 5 times, at least part of the issue's you. But she was physically, verbally, and psychologically abusive. This is proven fact. She went to prison for it. Okay? So I'm not going to say allegedly. She gained a tremendous amount of weight and became reclusive. For years, Theresa Knorr abused and tortured her children. And she beat them, she force-fed them, she burned them with cigarettes, she threw knives at them. She made her children hold each other down while she assaulted them. And she was the worst to her female children, which I will name. I think I've already mentioned Howard and Sheila. Susan was the next born in 1966. William Knorr was born in 1967. Robert Knorr Jr. Was born in 1968. Theresa, who's Terry, who was better known as Terry, so that it wouldn't be as confusing. She was born in 1970, and unfortunately she passed away in 2011 from a heart attack. But I believe it was a heart attack, if I remember correctly. But this case shook me when I first heard of it. And cases like, stuff like this, I grew up in a chaotic home. I've heard, when I grew up before there was trigger warnings and stuff, and I think there should be trigger warnings and stuff. I'm going to trigger warning the heck out of this in the descriptions and in the title. But, and I wish I'd done it earlier. Although I think I did in the first video, but it wasn't recording, so I had to start all over. I got 2 seconds, literally, and I'd been yapping for 10 in the first one. But anyway, she was especially abusive to her female children, her daughters. But if the boys, and I think this is also abusive, did not help her, she was abusive to them, both mentally and physically. And if they helped her, then she wasn't. And she would also be even worse than the girls if they did. So the boys, they would have to be in an impossible situation. But some of the things that she did was she eventually shot one of the, we'll get into it right now, Susan's death. Knorr handcuffed Susan under the dining room table, making her suffer. Theresa Knorr would hand feed her from time to time, but she had to have a mouth gag on. Susan couldn't take the torture anymore and begged her mom to let her go. The next morning, Theresa Knorr went on a psychotic rampage and just started hitting all of her children. She uncuffed Susan for a minute, handed her youngest child, Terry, a gun to point it to Susan and to make sure she didn't go anywhere. Meanwhile, while Theresa Knorr and the other children were in the kitchen making oatmeal, one of her children dropped the spoon and it spooked Terry, so the gun went off and hit Susan. I'm not sure that I believe that, but that's the story. Knorr immediately chains her back under the dining room table, even though she's bleeding out, instead of taking her to the emergency room or something, like everybody else on planet Earth would do. But there we are. Susan begs for her mom to take her to the hospital, but instead, Theresa Knorr decides to nurse her back to the health with her kids' help. And she somehow survived the shooting, but attempts by the son Robert, at Theresa Knorr's request, led to infection and sepsis, so she died from that. They pretty much after she died, they well, actually, she was not quite yet dead. They took all of her belongings and put it on the road in a certain area of the state of California. I think it was in Fresno County, California. And Theresa Knorr doused Susan with gasoline and the bags and lit everything on fire. Susan's still smoldering body was found the following day. Due to the state of the remains, a positive identification was never made, and Susan was classified as a homicide case, and she was a Jane Doe. And sadly, this is not the end of the story. Following Susan's death, we have Sheila's death. That's right. Knorr began directing the majority of her anger and abuse toward her daughter Sheila, forcing the girl into prostitution, and this is a verified fact. Her siblings all said that she was forced into it. Mom of the Year, right? She forced the girl into prostitution in May of 1985. So I don't remember when she was born. 65, okay. So she was 20 at this point. Which it's messed up no matter how you slice it. To support the family, because Theresa Knorr did not work, and she received unemployment benefits from the state of California. And she was originally liked it because she got a lot of money from it, so she allowed Sheila to leave the house whenever she pleased. But after a few weeks, she got angry and accused Sheila of being pregnant and contracting an STD, which Knorr claimed she caught from Sheila via a toilet seat, which is pure BS. Sheila denied the accusations. Knorr beat her, hog-tied her, and locked her in a hot closet with no ventilation. Theresa Knorr forbade her from other children from giving Sheila food or water, or to open the door to the closet. Terry, the youngest and only surviving daughter after this is done, disobeyed her mother and gave Sheila a beer. Terry later said Theresa wanted Sheila to confess that was Theresa Knorr's way, their mom's way. Beat them until they confessed. To end the punishment, Sheila confessed to being pregnant and having an STD. But then Theresa claimed that she was lying and refused to let her out of the closet. I had a dad like this, okay? There was no winning. If you confessed, he'd still think you was lying, and if you didn't, it was just... And she died 3 days later of dehydration and starvation. This was in June of 1985. Knorr left Sheila's body in the closet for an additional 3 days before discovering that she was dead. Once again, Theresa Knorr ordered her sons, William and Robert, to dispose of Sheila's body, which had begun to decompose and was causing an odorous smell that filled the apartment. The boys placed Sheila's body in a cardboard box, which they disposed of near Truckee Tahoe Airport, which I assume is in California. Yeah. Sheila's body was discovered a few hours after it had been disposed of, but was never Positively identified and was classified as a John Doe. And Terry went to the cops, basically, and told them what happened, and they didn't believe her at first. But anyway, she was arrested and convicted of all this. Therapists even told Terry that this was all fiction. But eventually she was able to be believed because they found the box, and I mean, it described the case perfectly, and it probably didn't help that she was in Utah at the time, and you know, but Robert Knorr Jr. was charged with his sister's murders as well, so he served some time. Honestly, I don't really think that the sons had much of a choice. It was a shitty situation, but I don't know if they should, because I mean they didn't even believe Terry, so would they have believed him? I mean, and yeah, I get that people are like they shouldn't have murdered and they should have found a way to, but until we improve and start believing people, or I don't mean taking it at face value and not looking into it. I mean at least looking into what the fuck was said. You know what I'm saying? So, but William Knorr was sentenced to probation and ordered to undergo therapy. Theresa Knorr was charged with 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of conspiracy to commit murder, and 2 special circumstances charges. Multiple murder and murder by torture. She initially pleaded not guilty, but then made a deal with the prosecution after learning that her son Robert Jr. had agreed to testify against her in exchange for a reduced sentence. She pleaded guilty on the condition that she be spared the death penalty. On October 17, 1995, Knorr was sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences. She is incarcerated at California Institution for Women in Chino, California. So she's spent not quite 30 years in prison, but pretty close. Probably like 27, 28 years. She had a parole hearing in July of 2019, but was denied release. She won't be up for a parole hearing again until 2024. Let's all hope she don't get it then. I'm sorry, she can die in prison as far as I'm concerned. The police decided to reopen the murder case of Theresa's sister, Rosemary Norris, because she was found strangled to death at the end of a dead-end road in Placer County in 1983 after she went grocery shopping in Sacramento. But they determined that Theresa Knorr was not involved in Norris's death. After running away from her mother's home, Terry Knorr married twice and eventually moved to Sandy, Utah, where she lived with her second husband. She worked as a grocery store cashier in the same neighborhood where her mother had also lived and worked before her arrest. Theresa and Terry apparently did not know they lived in close proximity and had no contact. Terry Knorr died in 2011, aged 41. And her sons, one I think hit the straight and narrow, so to speak, and the other one, he did something minor. I think it was minor. I don't even remember what it was. If you know anything, you can put it in the comments below. But she but her daughter is the only one that's died of quote-unquote natural means. Her 2 sons are still alive. I think it's 2 sons. Yes. No, 3 sons. Our 3 sons are still alive, but all 3 of her daughters are dead. And, she's served about 28 years now, I think. And I'm sorry for the, car traffic. See if I better turn on the air conditioning, and that would be just as loud. But I hope you at least appreciated this video, this audio, and I'm using a picture of me and my sister. I'm the redhead, she's the blonde head. I just don't feel comfortable speaking in video, so I tried it with some of the regular videos that are on this channel. I'm gonna try and do some more of these, but true crime videos will probably be between 15 and 30 minutes. And I'll do the lesser known cases, but and honestly I prefer deep dives, but I just don't have the spoons for that. You know, a lot of my favorite true crime YouTubers are the ones that do deep dives. And I appreciate the 15 to 30 minute videos too, but I prefer the hour to 2 to 3 hour long, you know, or hour long, like Stephanie Harlow. She's one of my favorites. She does hour long parts that are 4, 5, 6 part long sometimes. So, and I love that content, but I just don't have the ability to do that. So, and I think there's room for us all. There's room for us that only have 15 to 30 minutes to do these. And please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share these things, share this kind of stuff if you like it. And I'm posting everything a couple weeks ahead. I mean, you know, I'm recording everything 2 to 3 weeks ahead, so it might not be true anymore, but last I looked, I had 13 subscribers, and I would like to at least have 100 by the end of the year. And I know that I've just started posting videos, so I understand why it might take me a while. But if you like this content, please let me know. And if you don't, please let me know, and let me know what I could do better. And with that said, I'm going to say bye. And I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your day. Or night, depending on when you're listening to this. Bye.